Welcome everyone to another episode of Price Targets with your host Bitcoin Jack. Welcome back. It's time to do a review. We're going to be talking about targets. We're going to be talking about how shitty my voice has been again for the so manyth week. I don't know if this is like long-term COVID bullshit or I'm not really sick, but it's just been weighing on my body. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, we had a pretty good trade done last week. I wanted to do a video on Thursday, but I completely lost my voice then. Might bitch about that a little bit more during the video, but hopefully my voice pulls through. So yeah, so we're gonna go do review of last week of trade setups. Gonna look at new targets and maybe I want to talk a little bit about the macro, but since my voice is shit, maybe I should postpone that, and maybe it's time to look at some deeper downside targets later. Yeah, let's get it. So just the weekly overview chart. Just to point out a few things before we dive into the review. This level here was rejected once, ties into, by this kind of liquidity zone that we had over here. And so that's kind of our last gain level. And now, as you can see, the blue box is lost again. So that's kind of shitty. That's, not something I'd like to see when you're a bull. So I'm very hesitant into going big longs here. When we can drop down to the daily, this is a good view. A couple of weeks ago when we started the layout, waiting for this short setup, we identified this as the key zone, and then we even identified this as the key level. So last week we set deviation on it, throw back onto the demand here and the trend line, which was pretty clean around here. That was, super clean. And then it retested this back from below. So you can dive into lower time frames and say whatever you want to say about it, depending on what kind of, style of trader you are. Personally, me, it's just like, it's a big level that I was expecting I wouldn't be surprised to see a rejection of, and then the low time frame just gave us this, which was just really clean. Sometimes it's just that way, and kind of get lucky. But you can see here how it deviated on this top. It even gave you a retest, and then obviously when this started to happen, we talked about it. That was bearish, and pretty clean retest again here on this candle of the trend line. So anywho, we can talk about this a lot, and I love talking about winners more than I love talking about losers. Here's price trading into the target we had and the two lows. Why did I like these two lows as a target? Well, basically, when we kind of zoom out a little bit here, the two significant lows. If you kind of ignore this one, above gaining the range here, that pushed us into this high. So obviously I think there's a lot of stops here, and the 40k level always, nice round number. So this is a good place to take profit, and I think that's like, assuming, this is a kind of trade you don't get that often. That's like 6R. It's pretty good. So that's a positive, but I closed out quite a bit here. I think we gotta go to ETH and then Luna and Ciscoin, and then just review those very quickly. Let's go back to daily. ETH about here. So I added this little box here that I didn't add last week, but obviously clean block here, trading into it. The monthly level is here. The ID that we've been waiting for to execute has been testing above the monthly and going below it, and pretty much so far I got stopped out on an early position here. Kind of when this rejected, I put a stop here, but major stop still remains above here, and major trigger still down there, if that makes sense. Until then, this is kind of in no man's zone. I'm not gonna long it because I'm not, I'm not that bullish on the market in general. So I'm gonna stay out of this, especially because it's, it might be a deviation on top of this. And yeah, I mean, if this scenario happens, this one here, then I do think the old plan still is in place. Trade to the lows here of the weekly, and then possibly into the monthly. So essentially, this becomes the range with possibility of getting stuck here. But I do think that when you have this kind of structure on a down move like this, that's just going to continue down, and then the first big level of interest is here and here. Luna has been kind of doing the shitty, sucky, fucking thingy ding. So essentially, what I wanted to see last week is it kind of half did it, but it didn't do exactly as I wanted. I wanted it to trade up into the level here, which it did, and then I wanted it to retest the red level here, and then regain the block that rejected it. So to kind of make that a little bit cleaner, what I wanted to see is that this would reject it into here, and then a bounce, and then get long on reclaiming, and then going into new highs. That's that would have been the setup I would like to trade. This is meh. I mean, shit. So I guess if that happens, it's still game on. So this probably still is a good place to go long. And then to the downside, if the market is really going to shit itself and is going to drag down everything with it, if it retests here, I would probably short it if it comes into here. Problem is, the high is pretty far away. And then, if this is the target, it just not that great. So, probably the cleaner thing to happen would be get like a retest on this daily here, and then trade, I don't know, there's like an SFP or like a retest. That would be a decent entry. Just gonna get rid of this because I'm not specifically bullish, but I'm bullish again. If this can go above this level here and hold, then it's going to trade higher, in my opinion. So that back to the short setup. This would be a short setup, and it would target here. And alternatively, this scenario, if we get it, would still be viable to me. Let's drink a little bit of coffee. Yeah, so basically, kind of, this, it sucked that it didn't do that, because that would have been a great trade. Then oh man, just want to look at this chart. It's not a review of what we discussed last week, but dude, if this is lost and it doesn't reclaim this, I mean, I gotta get to a log chart here to visualize it a little bit, but this would go down the drain so much, like at least down here, which is, you know, almost it's over 50%. This would also indicate to me like general sentiment in the market. Like if coins like this, the most speculative kind of assets in the crypto sphere, start, you know, puking that much, especially when you consider that this is already like 75%, right? But yeah, you know, there's a lot of people who've once said that, you know how a coin goes minus 90%? Well, it goes down 80 and then it goes another 50. So wouldn't be surprised. Let's see, this is, yeah, that's about 90%. Wouldn't surprise me the least if that happens, and just doesn't look great. Anywho, so Ciscoin, talked about it last week. I'm still waiting for either the support to be tested down here. It's kind of like, you know, this kind of rejection range here, that never really got cleanly retested once it started to go up. So kind of back into here, preferably like in a kind of wedgy structure, going below the lowest diagonal and then reclaiming it would be pretty good setup in my opinion. And otherwise, I guess, you know, this is still, if it doesn't go down there, this is still the play. You know, climb the diagonal here, trade up here, kind of structure here, so you get like 1-2 opportunities to get long, and then hopefully it doesn't like SFP on the high here. But this looks like sell pressure, so I think this is a decent setup. Oh, I completely forgot. This video is sponsored by PrimeXBT, our lovely sponsor. They have a great exchange, and if you sign up with the ref link in the watermark or in the description below and use the promo code BitcoinJack, you get 0.5 BTC deposit bonus with some conditions that apply. So make sure you check that out before any confusion arises and you get mad at me. If you like this video, consider signing up, using my ref link, and, you know, if you have any feedback, let me know, let them know, so they can make it a better place. But you can trade like equities, futures, copy trading, whatever floats your boat. I'm not a big fan of copy trading, but if that's the thing you like, you know, go for it. If you want to trade equities or gold, you can do it. If you want to trade crypto, you can do it. So thank you, Prime. Big shout out. And whoa, I almost forgot that. I'm going to go back to the Bitcoin chart. So essentially, okay, so this chart, you've seen that on Twitter, has been one of my blueprints to trade the rejection we had. And without going into details, because I don't want to give away my entire edge here, these two lines here are Gann fans based on the square of 9. And this level, or this line here, is kind of like my worst case mean reversion line. And if this becomes bullish from here, you know, my assumption is gonna start I'm gonna be not so bearish if it manages to go through the 1-to-1 line here, the big fat red line, if that makes sense. Anyway, these horizontal levels here are also part of the square of 9, and they fit right into the price action. You know, and I love trading horizontals and everything that, you know, Cred or Main or Trader SZ or any other of the pure price action guys trade. I love doing that kind of shit, or at least, you know, keep it in the back of my head when I get into entries, because that's, you know, the way to do it in my opinion. And they just line up very well here. Not being able to get a rejection of these two these two wicks here, kind of makes me feel that this is going to go into elevator mode to the downside and target, the lows, these two here. And it could be as fast as just a couple of days. Once actually it goes down here and it kind of starts touching this line. The problem with this line is that it's super steep to the downside. So that kind of means that, it could go lower as we go. But this is, if it's going to start touching this, I'm going to start assuming that there's going to be quite some liquidation. So once that starts happening, when people are forced to sell, that's maybe a good place to, get some counter trend trade in. I don't think if that's going to start happening, that's really going to be the bottom. We're going to be looking at that a little bit later once I start zooming out. But essentially, I could see this bounce up here, but like a full rejection or losing the level is going to go down quickly, in my opinion. So that's kind of where we're battling for today and tomorrow. It traded through it, closed through it, so that's, in my opinion, already a bad sign. I'm just going to give it a day, maybe 2 days to, could pop just, could literally just be that a lot of people said, hey, 40 is the level, and we just sold through it. Now everyone's selling, and then it's just going to pop. So we're going to have to, I don't know, but if this starts moving down from here, I think that's just a strong continuation trade, and that's just gonna crack some bulls up. Some futures gonna get liquidated. So these lows here, but I think this low is gonna, at least this wick is gonna get filled, in my opinion. Not entirely, maybe beyond it, maybe this one too. But this one, that's kind of the target, in my opinion, if that's the case. Should I whine a little bit more about my voice? I'm just gonna take a sip of coffee. Okay, so back to Bitcoin chart here. I don't know, like, as I said, it does feel that if we lose the level that we're trading at right now, which kind of was the target that we had last week, we lose that, I think it's gonna accelerate to the downside, and then it makes a lot of sense to trade into the weekly block here, the monthly lowest close of this entire range, maybe even lower. I don't want to I don't want to jump the gun on that, but if for some reason things accelerate like super quickly before the next video, let me go back to linear, then look at, I don't know, like this, right? Just give it a little different color. If you start losing this, man, I mean, this starts to become mediocre at best. So we had the deviation up here. Obviously, if we trade below here and this is a deviation and it trades back up here, maybe that's that's it. But I'm kind of starting to feel that if price wanted to become bullish, it had a lot of time to do so. So this kind of distribution. So unless there's like a shit ton of volume trading here and everyone capitulates here, and we can see in the data that's happening, it's just nothing here. The first on the 3-day chart kind of like level where price had a little bit of a difficulty, but just a couple of days, it's at the 22 to 24 range, so probably some reaction there. But other than that, if you compare this structure and then you look at this, the first structure that's anywhere comparable in terms of size and volume is this one. So if this is matching this, then there's no reason to believe that that's just going to stop here. because that's a lot of trapped volume. If that's gonna start unwinding and the S&P 500 starts to be, become super bearish, which, I mean, let's be honest, could very well be the case. There's a lot of downside here. But yeah, level to level, as and take our time. But I wouldn't be. I'm not opposed to the idea that this is your, I don't know. Okay, so hear me out. Maybe this is like way too bearish, but just gonna put it out there because it's a possibility. Maybe you don't agree with it, but what if this is like a running flat, right? So A, B, and then kind of C. So could C go sideways? Sure. Could C go, down here? Absolutely. I think, yeah. So here's Bitcoin against the money, like the M2 money stock. So it's adjusted for money printing. And then suddenly looks, this structure here didn't go as high, kind of like a deviation here. So essentially, if this trades below here, it's kind of losing the range high here. So where does it then trade to, right? So this is empty air. So this is like your first big level. So yeah, I just wanted to get like the worst case scenarios out there. Worst case scenario would actually be even lower than this, but that's just a possibility. And if you don't, like if you're gonna put your head in the sand that it's not possible, that's where you well, that's where a lot of people get wrecked eventually. Like, and if too many people actually start to expect it, it's probably not going to happen. But if too many people are long and just thinking it's not possible to go down there, who knows? Markets are markets, and they need to shift around the capital, if that makes sense. All right. I think my voice held up pretty well. Let me just delete this nonsense because obviously we don't want to see that. Like, we don't want to be that bearish, but just putting it out there might be something to be scared about. Yeah. Let's summarize Bitcoin super quickly. So this chart, if this doesn't like gain this, that's super bearish. If it trades up in here, I think this is where it's gonna start getting trouble. So the red line and the 45 level, 44 to 45, that could get rejected. But at least there's going to be some kind of reaction. What I'm scared of right now, but I haven't like reviewed the data this morning. I was looking at it yesterday and the day before and last week and 2 weeks ago, is basically, especially on Binance futures, perps, this is happening, but there's like a relentless market selling into passive bid, keeping the neutral to positive funding afloat. With open value, so not open interest, but open value. So open interest expressed in terms of BTC going up. So that's, there's one side here like looking to sell hard on perps, and there's one side buying it. And then if there's going to be volatility, especially considering Binance futures have made new all-time highs in open value, that's just a lot of, capital to move the market. And then on the other hand, we've seen like spot buying. So just keep in mind that we've seen that before. If you've been following me for a long time, like quite a few years ago, we've had a similar situation, which was, it involved a lot more money, like relatively in terms of BTC back then, but still like it's comparable in concept. So a capitulation wick to the downside of open value or to the upside is quite possible here. So I think that's the wrap. Thursday, hopefully nothing weird happens. I'm gonna try and do an early show on Thursday because I'm gonna try and do some cycling and get fit again and wake up early because I really need to get something done with my health. All right, see you Thursday. Peace.